Hi, I have not told anyone about my experience, so I figured I should make a blog about it since something could happen to me, as I am facing major depression due to family problems and thinking about suicide. It was a cold day in October of 2012 when I decided I should go out and get myself a GameCube, as I wanted to take my mind off things because this is when the family problems started and I dwelled deeper into depression. I went to my local Game Escape. In my town, Game Escape was the place to get old games. Once I had arrived, the clerk greeted me with a smile, as the employees were very nice. I looked around the GameCube games and found a copy of Pikmin. I walked over to the clerk and said I would like to buy this game. She said it would be $5.99. I asked, "Do you have any GameCubes?" She replied, "We have one and it's in mint condition." I asked how much for it and she said, "Since it's in mint condition, it's $99. I gave her $110 and she handed over the GameCube and the Pikmin game and said, "Have a nice day." And I left. When I got home, I plugged the GameCube into my television and put the Pikmin disc inside the GameCube and hit the power button. And the screen started off with the GameCube logo, then cut to the Pikmin main menu. I selected play and started to watch the beginning cutscene. Everything was normal until towards the end of the cutscene when Olimar crash landed and saw the red Pikmin pod. I saw a black Pikmin peeking out of the forest and it wasn't a rock Pikmin. It was a completely black Pikmin with yellow eyes. I continued to play the game, and when the evening came, I started to go back to the ship when I saw yet another black Pikmin for a few seconds before it disappeared back into the forest. I kept wondering what it was, but shrugged it off as it was a graphical bug and moved towards the ship once again. When I got to the ship, I felt uncomfortable as if someone was watching me. The ship flying off cutscene played and I saw it again. A black Pikmin standing there looking up at the ship. I shut the GameCube off for the day and went to bed. I woke up, made breakfast, and got back to the game. I still have the feeling from last night as if someone was watching me. I shrugged it off and I was just being paranoid. When I got back to the game, I was still in the forest at nighttime. I was confused by this as two things were wrong. I had no time counter and no Pikmin. I started to get nervous as what was going to happen. When I got back to the ship, it was on fire and only a few chunks of it remained. I felt Olimar had crash landed back on the planet and was stuck. I heard rustling as if something was in the trees watching me. All of a sudden, 12 black Pikmin jumped from the trees and surrounded me. They all had yellow eyes and didn't look very friendly. They all lowered their heads and they had silver flowers on them. Then the silver flowers started spinning really fast and moving closer and closer to Captain Olimar. Captain Olimar trembled in fear and fell on his knees crying. As the black Pikmin moved closer and closer, Captain Olimar kept screaming, "No! God, please, no!" And when the black Pikmin reached him, he was torn to bits. Chunks of flesh and organs splattered over the ground as the black Pikmin continued to move forward. I immediately jumped up from my chair and raced towards the GameCube to shut it off. But something froze me and I was looking at the GameCube. Then my head slowly moved towards the screen. I tried to pull away, but it was like I was in a trance, forced to look at the gruesome scene. The black Pikmin stood there laughing as the only non-chopped off piece of Olimar's body was his head, looking straight at me. Suddenly, I broke free from the trance and fell to the floor and reached to the GameCube and shut it off. A few days later, I destroyed the game, so no one could ever experience what I experienced. I later brought Super Smash Bros. Melee and went through the campaign. Whenever I played on the Zelda stage, though, I sometimes see the black Pikmin pop out into the background, laughing. Hello, I'm a pretty average gamer. I like the games I like and never once considered what lies beyond the surface of them. Well, that was until I met a good friend of mine. This friend of mine, whose name won't be stated for the sake of privacy, is obsessed with hacking. He doesn't do it to cheat, though. He does it solely to find out the secrets behind the games. Leftovers, test levels, developer notes, you name it. He finds it. Because of this, I started getting interested in this as well, and since I had no idea how to break into games like he could, I gave him some requests. Games like Yoshi's Island, Super Mario Galaxy, and Pikmin were among those that I asked him to dig into. The stuff he found was really neat, but nothing particularly notable beyond unused graphics and such. He then came to me one day looking to increase his skills by tackling a game from a much more recent console. I had been playing Pikmin 3 at the time and suggested he should try his hand at that, in which he agreed. After a month or two, I received an email from him, which was unlike him as usually he'd just call me or come over to my house. In fact, I hardly seen him during that time. Wii U games are supposedly very hard to work with though, so I just blamed it on that. Anyway, what he sent me was just a text file simply named Olimar log. I assumed this was an early or unused script for the hidden logs by Captain Olimar that you could find in the game. But upon opening the file, the content seemed more similar to that of Olimar's tech-only logs from the first game. I started reading, absolutely ecstatic about what my friend had found. However, well, I've gone and copied it all down below. It seems as if Nintendo had a very different idea of Olimar's role in Pikmin 3. Make it of what you will. Day 1. We have successfully returned to the distant planet once again, but our landing was far less than smooth. Upon touchdown, the force of the ship's impact caused the ground beneath it to collapse, effectively lodging it into a subterranean crevice. We are currently unable to exit the ship due to the tight walls of the crevice obscuring any means of escape. The ship's damage has yet to be fully accessed, but it appears to be critical. I'll try to send any distant signal if the radio is still functional. Day 2. The ship's engine and operating system were both completely obliterated during the crash. Any attempts to repair them have resulted in nothing but unsuccessful sparks. Thankfully, the emergency power generator was unscathed and is being used to provide us with some light and essence life-sustaining functions. With a bit of minor tweaking, I've even managed to get the radio to work. but no answer to our distress signal has been made as of yet. At least we still have plenty of rations to tide us over until then. Day 3. The signal has been broadcasting since yesterday, but still has no replies. I've been pondering over our situation and have begun to think of what might happen if no help arrives. No, that's ridiculous. How could I consider such a stupid thought only 3 days after our landing? I know in the next few days, someone will come to our rescue far before then. Day 4. There still hasn't been any replies, but I'm not too worried. Since we cannot leave the ship, Louie and I have been preoccupying ourselves with board games and puzzles for our entertainment reserves. I kinda wish video games were included among them, but I'm not very good at them anyways. Besides, Louie has been on a winning streak for a while now. I guess this must mean I'm not very good at board games either. Day 5. Still no replies. It's been kind of difficult to sleep with all those thoughts going through my head. Maybe I'll just play some board games with myself. I doubt any noise I'll make would disrupt Louis's rest. He could sleep nearly through everything. Day 6. I thought I heard something come through the radio today, but it turned out just to be a burst of incomprehensible static. I also attempted to fix up the ship a little more, but all I could really do was tidy it up a bit. The broken control panel looks so shiny that I could practically use it as a mirror. Between working and dealing with the ship's artificial intelligence, I never had time to clean up. Thankfully, in this state, I don't have to listen to its unbearable nagging remarks. Day 7. I think Louie and I will just play board games for most of the day again. If only we had a few Pikmin with us to keep us a little more company. Day 8. We ran out of board games to play, so I decided to try taking a nap today. But my mind was too cluttered with worrisome thoughts to get any rest. I need to stop letting my concerns get to me. Day 9. I've heard some voices come in and out of the radio, but they are distorted by static beyond recognition. Someone will have to answer our call eventually. Day 10. I was hit with a sudden jolt of panic today when I realized that our time is limited. Since we are having to rely on the ship's emergency life support systems, we have a span of merely 29 days before they are completely exhausted. To think that in just 19 days... No, I mustn't think about that. This had happened to me before on my first visit to this planet, and I managed to survive. Of course, I did have the added assistance of Pikmin. Day 11. Our rations are beginning to dwindle. What appeared to be a month's worth of Pikmin carrots and Hokatik noodles is now just a few days' worth. It doesn't help that Louie has such a ravenous appetite. Then again, I wouldn't call myself a very light eater either. Day 12. I tried looking out the windows, but all that could be seen is the dark walls of the cavern. I wonder if there are any Pikmin nearby. If we're lucky, maybe some would come and carry us out of this dimly lit abyss. Day 13. The emergency power generator has finally given out today, leaving us in near total darkness with only breathable air. There is still a sliver of light leaking in from the top window though. so there isn't a complete absence. This means the ship probably isn't stuck too far down from the surface. Now, if we only get an answer to our calls. Day 14. Some more static voices came through the radio today, but once again none of them were comprehensible. I'm starting to feel as if we may never escape this crevice. Day 15. I wonder if my family back at Hokatake is becoming worried for me since I didn't have the ability to email them back. Certainly, they would have gotten suspicious by now and sent a rescue crew. Right? Day 16. Our food rations have now been dilapidated entirely. Louie and I had a fight over who was deserving of the final piece of food. The fight started out as just mild bickering, but has soon grown into a full-on brawl. I'm not sure what came over me, but as Louie attempted to shove me, my first reaction was to grab him by the neck and pin him down. I then immediately ate the final Pikmin carrot whole without hesitation. Louie hasn't spoken a word since. I felt unbelievably guilty. Tomorrow I'll try to apologize when we're both hopefully in a better mood. Day 17. I tried to apologize for my savage behavior yesterday, but Louie didn't appear to accept it. He just glanced at me with a chilling glare. At least we still have a significant amount of water rations left for the both of us. Day 18. Hunger pains have started to ensue. I have barely been able to sleep at all. I think I'm just gonna lie here for a while. I wonder if this is how my boss felt when he was being pursued by debt collectors? In that case, I need to remember to apologize to him once I make it out of this ordeal. Day 19. These logs have become increasingly more difficult to write. Due to sleep deprivation, mineral light, and a total lack of food, I think I'm starting to hear things. Day 20. My head is pounding and I could barely keep my hands from trembling. I'm going to take the day off again. Not that there's much work to be done anyway. Day 21. I was so surprised to see Louie laying down across from me when I woke up from my unexpected nap that I nearly shrieked. He's been so quiet lately that I had forgotten he was even here. He looked absolutely miserable, even in the particular light. I'm beginning to wish I'd shared that last Pikmin carrot. Day 22. I concluded that we may never receive any replies. I should have lost hope, though. Endurance is key. If only I believed those words. Day 23. Time feels as its pace has been slowly decreasing day by day. I could hardly stand without getting awfully lightheaded. At the very least, the generator's remaining life support system provides us with some essential nutritional boosts. However, it's still nowhere near the support and satisfaction of eating food. Day 24. I feel so weak. If the Pikmin were here right now, I think they'd be ashamed at the loss of their heroic leader's strength. Day 25. Louie finally snapped today. He stood up suddenly and began to beat furiously at one of the windows. I got up and opened my mouth to speak to him, but before I could utter a word, he turned around slowly and gave me an unsettling look that only a starved animal could give. He quickly went back pounding on the thick glass for what seemed like an hour before finally collapsing due to exhaustion. I didn't dare approach him. Day 26. I awoke from a painful nap to the sight of Louis staring at the same window he had attempted to shatter yesterday. I didn't understand how he could have the strength to stand at all, considering it has been a little over a week since either of us had anything in our stomachs. He's still standing there at this very moment I'm writing this. Ugh, I'm so hungry. Day 27. As I was trying to sleep again today, I had the feeling I was being watched. When I finally opened my eyes, there was Louis, standing over me with a dazed, hungry look in his eyes. I saw him rise up what looked like a thick piece of scrap metal, and, in an instant, I knew what he was planning to do. I sprang up just as he swung, missing me entirely. He was going to kill me. I yelled at him in hopes of making him realize that what he was doing was complete madness. But it was useless. He was far too gone. I used the remaining bit of strength I had and shoved him into the edge of a table. I yanked the metal fragment from his hands and there was nothing more I could have done for him. Day blank. Why? Oh God, why? Why must I succumb to such primal behaviors? The blood on my hands, the taste of iron in my mouth. I'm sorry. Dear God, I'm so very sorry. I am a man no longer. I am a monster. A savage, disgusting monster. And here are the voices saying they've reached me, saying they have come for me at last. Don't they know? Don't they know of the beast that has come to uncage? I can feel myself being lifted right at this very moment. It's becoming brighter. My eyes sting. They have come to free me. I mustn't let them. I must never be freed. And so, I must claim myself. I was so happy when I got Pikmin for my Wii. I would play Pikmin on the GameCube at my cousin's house, but I could never find all the ship parts in the 30-day limit. But I was luckily able to get it on my Wii. I jumped with joy as the disc slid into my Wii. I grabbed my Wii and nunchuck and I happily started the game. When it started, I heard the Pikmin's jolly voice as I saw the Nintendo logo. Then I was at the title screen. I started the story mode. After seeing all of Mars' ship crashes, I was able to finally start. I found the onion and was able to get my first red Pikmin. I named him Cody, after me. So I found some pellets so I could have more Pikmin. But when the pellet went through the onion, no Pikmin came out. Just a text box saying, "No Pikmin for you, Cody." I was freaked out. How did it know my name? I thought to myself. I had Cody collect another pellet. The same text box appeared. Then the game crashed. But it didn't. It showed a picture of a red Pikmin saying, "Game over." I restarted my system and reloaded the game. This time, the Pikmin's voice had a lower tone. The title screen had the The title screen had the game over picture on it. What the hell? It changed from saying game over to, don't you get it, Cody? It's game over. I was just scared out of my life. My Wii started melting. I tried to stop it, but my hands started burning. I was able to call my friend to take me to the hospital. So here I am. I was able to survive the melted metal poison. I sent a note to Nintendo and they replaced my Wii and gave me a new copy of Pikmin 1. What a day.